All right, hello everybody. So today we're here to talk about a skill set that is essential for AP US history, for history and for success in life. So these are the four C's of learning. Now, the four C's are very different than the five C's of Arizona. The four C's stand for critical thinking, communications, collaboration, and creativity. So we'll explore how each one helps us understand, analyze, and connect with U.S. history more deeply. Let's define each one. So we got critical thinking, we got communication, we got collaboration, and creativity. So what do you think these four words mean? Does anyone know what these four words mean? Anyone to raise your hand? Mariella, what do you think?
I know that collaboration is working with other people.
That's a good one. It is working with other people. So that's a very good guess, and the other ones are very similar too. So, basically, with critical thinking, that means asking tough questions, evaluating evidence, and drawing reasoned conclusions. So think of it as like analyzing cause and effects, evaluating sources, and kind of making arguments. So with communication, that's expressing ideas clearly in speech and in writing. Collaboration is working with others to deepen understanding, and creativity is finding original ways to present or interpret historical content. So, so we use all four of these every day in AP US history, even if we don't always notice it. So, why do these four C's matter in APUSH? APUSH isn't just about memorizing dates. It's also about analyzing patterns, building arguments, and connecting the past to the present. So the four C's are built in everything that we do. It'll prepare you for writing AP style questions, like short answer questions, long essay questions, document-based questions. It'll help you with historical inquiry and argumentation, and it'll help with group projects and debates. And just with all that, that'll help you build real-world skills for college and for your future career. So we use so it's basically thinking like you know it's like thinking outside the box to see what others are not seeing, and it'll prepare you for like that college level thinking and real world problem solving. Um, so, those four C's are just going to be built into everything that we do. Let's see. So, first, let's start with critical thinking. So, this is one of the most important C's in APUS. So, you'll use critical thinking um, when you're kind of just when you're having to answer questions so that you understand more. So you should be willing to ask questions so you can understand like causation. So that means like what's causing something in history, like what event was caused by economic factors or by political factors. There's also continuity and change. What is it that's staying the same over time, and what is it that's changing over time? And there's contextualization. So, like, what's going on in the overall context of the time and place that we're studying? So, some good ways to practice that would be through document-based question source analysis and debating the causes of historical events. So, basically, when we think critical thinking, that's like thinking outside the box to see what others are not seeing. So, it means basically that you know, it's like looking at historical change and continuity over time, but it's also answering all these kind of complex questions. And so, for the best way to practice that would be debating the causes of historical events and document-based question source analysis. Now, let's talk about communication. So, you might not think of APUSH as a communications class, but it is. So, you're constantly asked to explain your thinking, and it's important to be able to express and describe your ideas when there's a DBQ or LEQ essays, when they're like class presentations, when they're class discussions. So, basically, it means like getting your ideas across and talking to other people to get your point across about your thoughts. So in every essay and every discussion, you're going to be asked to weigh in evidence and make a case. So basically, the more clearly and confidently you communicate, the more persuasive your historical arguments will be. So the tips for success for that is to describe your evidence clearly and describe your thesis statements with your classmates. So now let's talk collaboration. So with you might not or so basically history is better when it's shared. So, whether you're working with classmates to build arguments from shared research for your in class presentations, whether it's teaching each other content during the class discussions, or whether it's when you're planning group projects together, you're building knowledge together. So, effective collaboration means actively listening, dividing the tasks, and helping one another grow. So it basically means teamwork and working with other people to communicate your ideas. So the tips for success with that would be to listen and to compromise, as well as share and delegate responsibility. And then finally, we got creativity. So you might think that history is all about facts, just things that are just 100% true. But there's plenty of room for creativity. So in this class, creativity could mean designing a historical, infographic or propaganda poster, creating short historical videos, or building interactive maps or role-playing games for historical figures. So basically, the main theme of this is thinking beyond the textbook. So sometimes you'll need to come up with your own ideas on the spot to succeed. So don't parrot what others say because, that wouldn't be any fun. Just show us your own ideas. So your ideas are different than anyone else's, and they can help you with this class. So being creative helps you think visually and imaginatively, using your evidence to find a unique perspective that has never been discussed before. Let's see. All right, so with those four C's in mind, let's do a U.S. history group challenge. So let's walk through how these four C's would come together. So imagine that your group is assigned to investigate whether the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a turning point in U.S. history. So for this, you will basically think critically about causes and effects. You'll collaborate on research, and you'll communicate your findings, and you would creatively present in a chosen format. So it could be a poster, it could be a skit, it could be a song. So all four of those C's would work together to deepen your historical understanding. So so how would you apply, each one of these four C's to the group project? Anyone like for critical thinking, how would you use critical thinking to answer this type of question? What about you, Papa? What do you think? How would you use critical thinking to answer that kind of question?
Well, critical thinking will, you would need to know why the Civil Rights Act was of 1964. Why didn't it happen in 1954? What were the reasons for it having enough momentum to get enacted at that time? So that would be causes and effects.
Yes, exactly. Very good answer. So that's a good way of using critical thinking. And what about communications? How would you communicate your findings to answer this kind of question? So is anyone thinking of that? What about you, Mama?
Well, I think that obviously we could you could just do a like slide presentation with photographic evidence of that time because there's so much material and speeches and events that happened that were in the news. So
Mhm.
you could make a slideshow with some and videos from that time.
All right, very good. Yes, that's the key, that there's so many different ways of communicating your ideas. Now, what about collaborating on research? For the three of you, how would you collaborate on research to, answer that type of question? Anyone have any ideas?
Well, you might divide up the topic. Somebody could look at speeches of Martin Luther King, or another person could look at marches in different cities, or other events that were memorable for the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, exactly. So that's a good way of working together on that. And what about So what about like creativity, like to creatively present in a certain format? Like what would be a good way to, give this idea or uh, answer the question and convey your idea without being exactly like somebody else? So anyone have any ideas of how to be creative in the presentation?
We could make a rap and perform the rap for the class where we explain the Civil Rights Act. And
Yes, yes, that's good with rap, just like with the Hamilton musical. So
that's where I got the idea from.
all right, good idea, Mar. Very very good. You got 10 points for Mar. All right. So, yes, those are all really good ideas of how to, how to work together on that and how to, do that type of group challenge. Um, so, um, so basically, like you may be wondering, like, how does this help me on the exam? Like, is this just important stuff to know, or is this stuff that'll be useful for the exam? So it actually is very useful for the exam. So that's the thing with the document-based questions and long essay questions that you'll get. You'll need to skills in critical thinking and communications. So for group reviews and studying with your peers, that's collaboration. And with creating a thesis framework or a timeline, then you're using creativity. So the students who succeed on the AP exam are going to be those who naturally integrate all four C's into their studying habits and their writing. So just to reflect and think back on what we've just been learning, so um, let's take a moment for that. So which of the four C's do you feel strongest in? Which one would you want to develop more? So first, let's answer the question of which one do you feel strongest in? Anyone feel really strong on any one of them? What about you, Mama? What do you think?
I think that I am strongest in um, critical thinking.
All right, critical thinking. That's definitely one of the most important ones. And what about like which one do you think you'd like to develop more?
Oh, I think I need to improve on my collaboration.
Yes, I think we all need to work on collaboration a
Yes,
little bit
it's
more.
hard. It's hard to share the work fairly between the people in a group,
Yeah,
and it can be very frustrating for people in groups when some people work harder than others. And I think that's always a problem in group projects. So to be
interesting.
fair about dividing the work and sharing the glory.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it, sharing the glory. So that kind of self-awareness is going to help you grow, not just as a history student, but basically as a learner overall. So, thank you all for engaging today. So remember, the four C's are not just skills, they're tools to think and learn like a historian. So using the four C's will help you succeed on the exam and beyond it. So let's keep practicing those skills every day. So, anyone have any questions? What about you, Mar? What do you think?
I think that your presentation had really pretty colors.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or any other statements?
It helped us think more like historians.
Yes, that's good. It's very hard to think like historians sometimes. All right, well, thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, Teacher
Hey,
G.
bye bye.